Hey, it's a geek protagonist. So you see Anatomy Park, and I got something cool to show you later. I'm gonna make it a double video because I didn't get to do the video on the other one, and I'm trying to get back in the groove of making videos again. I think I'm gonna try to do like maybe 3 in a week, and kind of stick to that. I'm very busy with other stuff, and it was a little too much, and I was trying to figure out what to do. Anyway, that's not what you're here for. You are here to hear about my review on the Fantastic Four. First steps. Um, so I in this movie, was I excited to a degree? Hopefully optimistic. Yes, I was. And I will say right now that I like the original Fantastic Four movies. I fight people about them. I think outside of Galactus, Rise of Silver Surfer is actually a really good movie, and I think people, like I have unpopular opinions, but I think people are dumb for not liking that movie. I'm like, it had an aspect that was bad because he was a smoke monster thing. The idea would have been cool if it was a smoke thing, but Galactus was still somebody. But at the time, I think it was between, they were worried about it being too comic booky, and they were also worried about it being, probably didn't have the budget. Since they really focused on Silver Surfer. Now, in this movie, one of the things, and I seen Kevin Feige said something about that maybe he wants to start doing movies that don't require homework. Now, I have a counter to that. There should be movies that you could do that can kind of stand on their own. For example, if you watch Black Panther, the first one, in isolation, you kind of really don't need to watch the other Marvel stuff to get what it's about. You know what I mean? Some of them you can do that with. Some of them, no, they're very heavily ingrained. And it's okay if you have them still connected, but not every single little thing needs to connect to every single other little thing. But with Fantastic Four, you could go in, watch it. You could have never watched a Marvel film before. So that was a nice take. I thought it was a great idea with them doing an alternate universe in the end. I don't remember the director's name right now, but he's the guy, if I remember correctly, that did Thunderbolts. And first, I want to point out that this whole anti-fan thing of, oh, you shouldn't have fans work on it. Well, this guy worked on Fantastic Four, and he's a Fantastic Four fan. And you could tell he was a Fantastic Four fan. One of the cool things, and by the way, there's no real spoilers in here. I'm going to say it like this. He references a lot of Fantastic Four stuff. I actually personally like Fantastic Four villains. I think they have some very unique villains. And he gives them love. And it was very happy. Like, he was like this, that I was like, oh my gosh. He even did a little homage to the like past movies. I hate Four Stick, by the way. That movie's trash. But the other two, I didn't actually think it was that bad. And I think that, honestly, he knocked it out the park. I was worried about Pedro Pascal, not because the guy, in my personal opinion, is not a good actor. I think he's a very good actor. But I'm like, he can't do every role. Not because he doesn't have the talent. You sometimes need to give other people these roles. Like, you can't put him in every single role. I get, like, my one friend was like, oh, well, he has a good agent. No, I was like, nah, it's more that he's the hot boy right now. Just like how Jack Black, for a while, if you go back to like the mid-2000s and stuff, Jack Black was in a ton of movies. And now, if you notice, Jack Black is now in a ton of video game movies. Like, they're constantly putting him in these movies now because he kind of works. So it's kind of one of those situations. But Pedro Pascal, his version of Reed, I really, really liked. And I think part of it, and if you didn't know, they kind of did say this already. So sorry if you didn't know. This Fantastic Four takes place in an alternate universe. I remember seeing his descriptions from like 2 years ago because there was originally, I think the dude that did the Spider-Man No Way Home was going to do this, but he already did like 2 Spider-Man, so he was like a little burned out, superhero burned out, he said, and he had a different take. It was going to be modern day and stuff. Well, this guy took it to the 60s. The future is now kind of idea. And I think it really actually worked out very well. It made it feel like an alternate universe. And honestly, if they want to do a movie fully in the alternate universe, if you do it right, it's not a bad idea. Don't do it with everything, but it's not a bad idea to do that a couple times, I think. This proved it, where you could do something completely different like the Ultimates and stuff. I actually think that was a great idea. So back to Pedro. Um, Pedro played Reed because they're a few years in. Kind of like Superman. We already seen the Fantastic Four origins like 3 times. The Roger Corman one and all that. So I like the fact that when you got Reed, his version of Reed was a little bit more experienced. He was still that Reed Richards, but by this point, he's kind of used to it. He's kind of matured a bit, where he's put a little bit more emotion. And I thought he played the character really, really, really well. I like that how Reed would like escape to the chalkboard and stuff. And he had Reedisms without doing it like my boy from the first film. Miles Teller was kind of a weird version. He was kind of snarky. I get they were doing the Ultimates thing, but he was kind of snarky. But I get why. But this Reed, the way he played him, even from John Krasinski's Reed, they play like John Krasinski's Reed was very comic accurate in my opinion of how he talked. This Reed was very comic accurate for the Reed after he got into stuff, and I thought both of them did great performances, and I loved it. And I love that suit. And that to me, John Krasinski's one is the modern day one. That's how I view that in my head. This is the like the 60s modern day one. But Pedro played the part. He was very poised. He was very reserved, like a genius who's kind of out of place. You saw his vulnerabilities, and I thought that like Pedro knocked it out the park. Vanessa Kirby, actually, the funny thing is, outside of John Krasinski and his wife, Vanessa Kirby was actually my pick after I watched, I think it was Hobbs and Shaw, where I was like, yeah, I think she could play Sue Storm. So she played Sue Storm. She's one of the most complete females I've seen in Marvel. Up there with like a Black Widow and stuff. Also, too, what I liked was they kept saying, "Oh, she's the leader. She's the leader." She's not. She's the way. And I love how she explained this. She said, "Reed is the most intelligent man in the world. She's the most emotionally intelligent person in the world." And it actually shows and shines in the movie. And I was like, oh, okay, I see this. Like, she does what she's supposed to do. She's supposed to be the one that's kind of like the glue, the heart. And I love that they play that up. And she can talk and touch people in ways that most can't. I love Jessica Alba's Sue. I don't care when it was. I loved her Sue. Like, I love the original cast, and this cast did them justice. Like I said, Roger Corman cast was kind of even though the look was fine, and the other thing was kind of there. Ellen, I'm trying to say his name right. Ebon Moss, Bacharach. I remember him being in Punisher. A couple things. The dude's a very good actor. He played very good Ben Grimm. The voice actually works for the film once you kind of get used to it. I like the gravelly voice that Michael Chiklis did, and the guy, and even Roger Corman, he's a carbon time. Like, I like that. But then I did notice there is a variation in his voice from when he's the Thing versus there. It's still softer, so he's like a soft-spoken monster. I was like, I kind of get what they were going with it, but it's a little bit different, just a little bit. And I thought, you know what, for the movie, it actually worked. Because like I said, I like thing with the grovelly voice. Even in their thing, they show you like a cartoon stuff, and there he has a grovelly voice. I just prefer that. But for this, I was like, actually, the softer touch kind of made his heart come through, and I thought that was good. And you could see he was still wrestling with some things, but he was kind of more calm by this point. Joseph Quinn. I like Joseph Quinn, so I didn't really have a problem. I remember a lot of people like Not My Johnny and stuff, and I was like, actually, I think if what they're going for, let's see how this is. Now, Johnny Storm is still Johnny Storm. I know they said this weird thing about how what Johnny is in 2025 is different. I'm like, stop doing that. He's a Devil May Care character. Stop. Try. We got to moderate. No, just leave them the way they are. Actually, he was Johnny. Now, the big thing, my friend told me the perfect example when I kind of explained to him how I couldn't get the words to do Johnny. Johnny's a ball buster in this one. He's not an a-hole like he was with like Chris Evans. Which Chris Evans, Johnny worked perfect, because back in that time, Johnny was that guy. He was like a super irresponsible man-child a-hole all the way through. And this one, since Johnny's been in it for a few years, you actually can tell that there's a maturity from the first one, like when they show like past stuff to this. It also showed, because, you know, they were all rocket science. They're going in a rocket, but then Johnny's like this Hot Wheels riding crazy dude. And it's like, well, how did he get in a rocket? And how was he the pilot? In this, I felt like you saw them all have their intelligence. Ben's intelligence is that he knows how to say certain things that really touch your heart, as he should. He's the ever-loving blue-eyed thing. And Johnny had an endearing charm. He still had that childlike thing. He still, you know, he didn't have time to go, oh, I like the girls. They did make a joke about him being single. But Johnny did have a thing where you saw him, that Johnny, I like girls, I like women come out kind of thing. But it was very subtle and interesting and funny. And it worked because since it was a 60s time, he did it like the 60s, where I think a lot of people wouldn't be bothered by it. Because, you know, people get bothered by everything nowadays. He's a straight white male. So I thought that how they did that was actually really smart. And it still felt like Johnny. And every character got their moment. And it was really good. Like, they got very big, each character got a big moment and something to do. And Johnny, I think in my aspects, as a character, I have to say Johnny was better in this. Like I said, I love Chris Evans as Johnny Storm. I love that character. But this one with the Fantastic Four, it showed that there's a reason why they all want a rocket ship. You know what I mean? And I think it was really smart the way they did this. And I loved it. I was like, Johnny did this, and it wasn't just Johnny being cool and fire guy. It actually showed there's layers to Johnny. There's layers to the thing. There's layers to Reed, like, and why they are a family. Ralph Inenes playing Galactus was, I don't know if I'm saying his name right. I'm sorry if I'm not. He was awesome. And I found out, like, sometimes he was in a suit, and it showed. The CG, the skip to the suit, actually was a really smart way to go. And I think Marvel should use that more often. It looked very poised. And because when you do these close-up shots, it didn't look like Uncanny Valley like they did with She-Hulk. I will say, lastly, Julia Garner playing Shia LaBeouf. I had a major problem with that. Silver Surfer's Norman Reed. Now, with that being said, for the story they told, and for some of her interaction, actually kind of worked. I see why they didn't use Norman Reed. Now, do I still think they did it to kind of get some points? Yes. But I always say, if you're going to use something, at least use it. And we could probably get Norman Reed later. So I'm like, actually, you know what? Main MCU, yeah, I can see maybe we'll get Norman Reed later. I still think Lawrence Fishburne and why can't I remember that actor's name? What's name Jones, who does a lot, like he played Abe Sapien, and he does a lot of that body work and stuff for Guillermo del Toro. He was fantastic as Silver Surfer, like the build and stuff like that. But Shia LaBeouf was very layered, very well used, and also she was a little bit different than Norrin. She had so she's in the comics for a little bit, but people are like, she's in the comic. Just because a character's in the comic in like 1 or 2 issues or a couple panels doesn't mean that they need to now replace the main known character, by the way. So people need to stop that dumb argument. But for what they were doing, she doesn't have the exact same thing as Norrin. And for that, I actually now preferred her in this movie. I can't tell you why, because it would be a spoiler. But I'm going to say it like this. Norrin has a little bit more heart on certain things, what he's doing as Silver Surfer versus her. And that's not a character flaw. It's I think it makes sense. If I was them, I still would have used Nova or somebody else instead of a female Silver Surfer, because the Silver Surfer is Norman Reed to me. But for this, I could let it slide because, first off, she did a great job with the role. It fit. When they fixed the CG and stuff and her talking and how they did stuff, I was like, actually, it kind of fits because she still had heart, but there's a specific thing that she does as a task that's a little different than what Norrin would have done. And that's why I was like, yeah, I see why they did her. She had it, but it was like buried almost. It's almost like she was dead to what she was doing kind of thing. She was broken to a degree, and everyone had their thing to fix and move to the next step. The jokes were in right place, Johnny. It wasn't kiki ha 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 Marvel kiki we're gonna do jokes, and everyone's like, the jokes. It was funny though. No, that needs to go away. This movie, it doesn't mean that not everyone needs to joke. Like Deadpool should be jokey. Johnny did do jokes, but he wasn't just some like man-child kind of thing. He had like a little bit of a immaturity, youthful vigor, but it wasn't like man-child. So I thought that was very good. Galactus was incredible, and the voice and everything, it just really worked. The seriousness tone actually worked. It felt like a dramatic movie, And I was surprised at that it wasn't just kikiing, and it was just a good movie. Now, did it have its lighthearted moments? Yes. Were some of their interactions funny and how they would do things, like when the thing picked up the car and stuff, and it was, and it worked. So yeah, I definitely say you should go see First Step. The movie was fantastic. If you want me to give it a criticism, there's a couple of times where the thing CG looks weird. Very few though, acceptable. 2% out of the entire movie. There's like one time he's walking and he looks like he's like, and there's like another time it just looks uncanny valley for like about a good 30 seconds. But the majority of the time, I would say 98 to 98.99% of the time, he looked great. And it worked. For what they did for him too, when they show him in a thing, I like the thing that looked kind of unhuman, like big hands, oversized hands and stuff. But what they did for this, they made him big, but he kind of fit and it worked. And he was more proportioned, but it actually worked for this movie. If you look at Michael Chiklis one, he has like really big hands. But I thought they did a great job. And all in all, I would say that this movie really high, almost, there was a couple things, but this was very, very good. I hate to say it because I hate this thing, because they used to say this about every movie, but outside of a Fox helped movie or a Sony helped movie like Spider-Man, a pure MCU movie, this movie was fantastic and is the best movie since Endgame. And I like Thunderbolts, which I think I have to do a review on that. And I like Thunderbolts a lot. And to me, this movie is the best movie since Endgame. And I would give this my rating as I would say I'm actually stuck, but I'm going to give it to you like this. I would say a definitely buy, but I also could say a low level blow my mind. I'm still mowing it over, and I'm sorry I'm usually very concise about this, but yeah. I'm still teetering. Like Superman, same thing. I'm like still teetering. I thought it was a really, really good movie, and I think I gave it a blow my mind. But I'm going to say for right now, this opinion could change. It's a definitely should buy, but it's a really high should buy. Like it's teetering on, I'm thinking about it. Like it could be a blow my mind. Like I was very pleasantly shocked by this film. Truly shocked at how well done it was. But this shows you, and it was a definitely love letter to Jack Kirby, and this shows you that when you get a fan who is actually a fan of the material, and not these people who keep hating stuff like the people who worked on Witcher, that's teasing the fans, and actually respect the material and respect the stuff, you get a film that's something. And it was very comic booky, just like Superman. I think this is the new direction that they need to go. They need to make these very much closer to the comic books. I think people are okay with that now. Spider-Man and like kind of started that as one of the ones that just was very comic booky, and I think that's a good direction. This is one of the best MCU movies I've seen in a long time, and I mean I put this up there with some of the Phase 1, 2, and 3 stuff. Like this is I have to admit, this was a great Fantastic Four movie. So tell me what you think. Like I said, I'm putting it as a should buy, but it's so high. If you say, hey, you know what, he said it blew his mind, I would give it to it. Same as Superman. Superman was right there too. Superman was a little bit on there, yeah. So Geek Protagonist, you stay safe, you stay healthy, stay real, and I'll see you.